If this looks familiar, chances are you were part of the Gen experience. Welcome back to the show. I'm Victor, and I was there, pulling down a box, most likely with broken corners, covered in tape, and missing pieces, all from a variety of decades past and present. Board games have been around for millennia, like backgammon and Monopoly. Let's check out the most popular board games uniquely made for and played by Gen X. Click like and subscribe to take another turn and spin again to a time where every day could be game night with just a cardboard playing field and some plastic pieces. A great way to release some frustrations, Hungry Hungry Hippos is not a quiet game. But that is no reason to not continue its legacy at your house. Chaos can bring peace. Do you think any of those hippos have any image issues? Don't break the ice. Oh, the stress of it all. Just going by the image on the front, you hoped this guy hadn't had one too many McMuffins that morning. Today, you won't see that fat guy trying his luck in the polar bear club, but you once could see a polar bear, or at least a bear. And even today, you simply find a penguin as the troubled protagonist, and even Elsa from Frozen. These updated game characters just don't give the game the same weight it once had. Now, this game was part of a genre of anxiety-inducing physical play. One of my favorites we had in 1975 was a little family-friendly activity where you tried fishing items out of the most iconic gray-white Jaws before he snaps your pole and your nerves. Guess who taught the process of elimination in admirable style? This skill helps when trying to figure out who ate your lunch from the company fridge. Wouldn't you love to play the more mature version of this game, where you ask questions based on current adult representation like, does your person hold a martini glass? Does your person have an ankle monitor? Is your person holding their refill of a pain medication? I could spend 30 minutes talking about the game Operation, from the naked patient who seems quite distressed to those adorable ailments you're removing that took a few years for me to make sense of it, like water on the knee and butterflies in the stomach. This was another game that provided immense temporary anxiety, but we just couldn't get enough, with people annoyingly trying to trip you up while you used your other hand to steady the hand holding the tweezers and you sweated profusely before the ultimate concentration killer. Operation could leave you needing a doctor. I know the updated version of the game gave the patient some boxer shorts, as if the very idea that he could have been naked was too risque for some people. I just hope they have raised the doctor bills for each of those procedures to keep up with today's astronomical health prices. Debuting at the dawn of Gen X in 1965, Mystery Date also had versions in 1970 and 1999. That later version even included Chris Evans as possible date Tyler, long before Captain America became the first Avenger. In the 70s, the bowling date from the original was changed to a picnic one. I wonder what date options would be represented in a modern version. Probably just sexting and dick pics. A spiritual spin-off of the game appeared in the 80s called Dream Foam, with all the garish colors of the era. Twister was the game that tied you up in knots. Speaking of knots, I can just hear Gen Z's stomach getting tied in knots having to play this, or more likely, not playing it. Instead of playing Twister, they would get all triggered on Twitter at the very idea of such a close contact party game. Originally marketed with pictures of adults on the cover, targeted at swingers trying to break the ice, I suppose, it would then have a more teenaged market, as it was a great way to cop a feel. Today, there is more of a push to an even younger audience. But this was a laugh riot all around, as collapsing on your best friends and even those you just met was a great way to get to know each other. I can just feel all the cringing right now from those with a lack of group social skills, but I can help. Pull out Twister, the game with the bed-sized board and the biggest spinner you've ever seen. Trouble. I'm not sure why this little gimmick of dice in a little dome city didn't catch on. It saved us from pilfering other games for their dice after no doubt losing some others. The Pop-O-Matic served a dual purpose. If you were interested in knowing your siblings, Trouble could do that. It was an awesome little noisemaker. Although the Game of Life was published in 1860, it is the 1960s version that is the modern one we've all played. I can still hear the commercials now. I see they have changed some career options to keep up with modern times, but I wonder what other milestones make up the Game of Life. Quiet quitting, hybrid work schedules, arrested for protest, getting fired for TikToking while on the job. I'm not even sure today's version of the game of life includes having a baby. Kids, not that great, am I right? It has been years since I saw this board. Heyday was a fun game, and looking at it brought back memories of this incredibly fun-paced activity. Its illustrations also immediately reminded me of other 70s style iconic visuals like Schoolhouse Rock, Yellow Submarine for the Beetle, and even that incredibly catchy Tootsie Roll jingle from that one commercial. You know the one, look it up, you'll be singing it all day. I know I am. Can you believe it? Not only did our parents and teachers both work together to teach us about money and responsibility, but a game was created to live all that adulting in make-believe. And we bought it and had fun. At least until the game was over. Perfection had been invented for physical therapy based on the hand and eye coordination needed. And it's not simply a child's game. Even adults got into the fun. And that gimmick was pop perfect. As another one of those anxiety-inducing games, you may need a cigarette afterwards. I loved this game, and even if you lost a piece, you could still play. That actually lowered the stress level. The race against the clock became more like life and death. Each tick made placing the correct piece into its hole like deciding which colored wire to cut when defusing a bomb. And actually, I think while we played, we sometimes pretended this game was a bomb. I'm exhausted just thinking about it. The only electronic game on our list, Simon, was far more advanced than those handheld sports electronics, even though we played them and we liked it. This was an outright competition with Simon, our first board game AI. You played him, he was the board. And no matter how fast you were, how far you got, beating Simon was almost impossible. We had Stay Alive, but I'd completely forgotten about it until now, and I saw this picture. And nobody had all the marbles. It was impossible to keep all the pieces together, but what a blast. It was a strategy game, so of course I sucked ass. But even as a strategy game, it still induced panic attacks. It seemed like many board games were meant to test your mettle under pressure, and this was one of them. Let's play a game. Nervous breakdowns can be fun. Did you have a love-hate relationship like I did with Battleship? Or were you one of those sly dogs who could seamlessly move your ship without anybody noticing on your game board? Just shift it over one spot to avoid complete annihilation. If so, you suck. Okay, this was a lot of fun. I'm not sure it was a blockbuster movie kind of fun, but it still finds success today. As a major strategy game, I didn't do it well, but I was glutton for punishment, just like I am with Connect 4. The only vertical board on the list. I asked myself, why do I keep playing this? Every time you lost, you knew you could best your opponent next time and set it up again. It was addicting and you needed your hit, while the other player continued to casually wipe the floor with you. It seems so unassuming. Then again, I am not much of a strategist and make moves on a whim, with abandon, and that doesn't bode well with games like this. You'd think I'd learn, but no. Especially when there is like a 3-foot one at every bar and pub. I'm all about it. You've heard of a slow burn or a sleeper hit in theaters? Well, this is the board game version of just that. The board game with the smallest board. I didn't think I would like Boggle, but my mom insisted one night. It was instant love, and I played it well. Found out I'm a pretty good speller and have some great observation skills, even if only within a 3 or 4 letter word category. Take that, strategy games! I was so good that we graduated to Big Boggle, which I love, where the box blatantly infers that your loved one is probably a big fat cheater, so shield your answer from wandering eyes. I think this was based on everyone's favorite daytime game show, Win, Lose, or Draw, but perhaps they did have their own home version of the game. I just know when we played Pictionary, we would imagine playing with all those celebrities from the TV game show, mostly B-grade celebrities, but perhaps you were imagining playing alongside the likes of Burt Reynolds or Lonnie Anderson. This was a completely different game that actually produced its own game show, hosted by Jerry O'Connell. This game is a winner and always has been. It continues to be played today. I'll never forget playing with my sister while she drew some short pants and a shirt on the pad. I yelled things like pants, suit, apparel, attire, and then the time ran out. She looked at me shaking her head in disgust and simply said, "It was clothes. Why didn't you say clothes?" Got some advice. Don't make it harder than it is. And finally, this was it. This brought everyone back to the table, all ages and so many players. The ultimate 80s board game was Trivial Pursuit. Pies, pie pieces, the colored wheel, and all the awesome categories except that one, sports. Almost impossible. There was nothing trivial about this game. It could go by fast or slow, but never as slow as that drag Monopoly. What a blast, what a memory, what a time. At the same time the games of this awesome list were being played, you could also find a wide variety of very obscure topics and themes that might not be as well known or have the same longevity. Games where darker themes were explored and some tragic events were fair play in the world of family game night. Like Seance in 1972, Bermuda Triangle in 1975, and also in 75, Titanic, where you played a passenger and the goal was to get off the doomed ship. While most modern games have developed a more cynical and sarcastic streak that involve majority voting on answers and far fewer moving game pieces, the boards have not only become scarce, but these highly engaging card games are more compact and are now travel-sized for your convenience. There is no denying the classic games from the silent and greatest generation, as well as the boomers, are still being enjoyed to this day. Clue, Scrabble, maybe even Yahtzee and Candyland, and definitely Monopoly are still dragged out and used as entertaining diversions of the everyday. These true classics have already certainly gone down in history, along with many of the ones we've named today from the Gen Experience. I hope you enjoyed reminiscing on some of those favorite games that are still referenced in pop culture today from the most awesome era. Which was your favorite from the list, and which do you still play today? Let me know in the comments and share your favorite board game memories. Then check out another great show from the channel, like this one. Don't forget to like and subscribe so I can continue to do what I love, make stuff about what you love. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.